What's up, everybody? This is Kevin Miller with the All Equity Podcast. You already know what it is. Today is a very different, very exciting episode because we're speaking with somebody who I want to be like. And we're also speaking with somebody who has gone through a tremendous amount of discrimination, somebody who's come up on top, overcame obstacles, not only in business, but in life. And so I'm really excited to get to know you on a deeper level. Tyler, welcome to the All Equity Podcast, man.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on here.
Absolutely. So curveball for you a little bit. Are you the middle child?
Am I the middle child? No, I am the youngest.
Okay.
I'm the youngest of two.
Okay. So I'm the middle child. And the biggest thing for me is like, I feel like people always kind of try to put me in a box.
Oh, yeah.
What was your box when you were younger and being the youngest of your siblings? What was the box that people always wanted to put you in?
So when I was young, the box that people wanted to put me in really was like, I was really outgoing, really fun loving, really, really talkative. I used to get in trouble all the time, for talking too much, in class and like passing notes. And like, I was just like super social. And so I was kind of lazy on actual like academic work because it didn't engage me. But like my teachers, like way before I came out as gay, like my teachers, they would tell my parents that I was a social butterfly. And I would get like really low marks on my what's it? I forget.
What was your report card?
Yeah, conduct. I'm sorry. I would get really low marks on my conduct while I was simultaneously getting high like actual grades. I was bored with the actual work, but like I was constantly talking and interrupting and.
So they kind of treated you like some kind of class clown, but you knew that's not really who you were. But because of your identity and your sexuality, like they kind of try to put you in a box.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, that was super, super young. That time, I mean, I'm talking about like elementary school, but like the whole sexuality and that those obstacles didn't really come into play until I really discovered that. And that wasn't until high school that came into play as, a negative force on my life at that time.
Gotcha. So do you remember in elementary school, like certain kids treating you differently, or what were some of those early memories that stand out to you as you transition into high school? Was there certain things happening or thoughts you were having in regards to like, okay, people are definitely treating me differently or something is different?
So it actually, I have to backtrack because I said high school earlier, and I don't mean high school. I actually started getting a little bit better in high school. It was middle school that was actually hell for me, like a complete hell. Like I've only ever thought about taking my own life one time in my 29 years, which is, I'm proud of that. But it was in 7th grade on the bus coming back home from school, and just being called so many names, so many, because my voice isn't the most masculine. And so having that, that tone to my voice told other people in an area that is not gay friendly at all. Like I grew up in Port St. Lucie, Florida. It is the red section of the red state of Florida. It just wasn't really a cool thing in middle school or high school in that area. And so I wasn't out or knowing that I was even gay at that point, but other people were all telling me and accusing me of it. And so I, had kind of a defensive, no, I'm not, at that point in my life, because I wouldn't even fully wrap my head around it at that point, but it just became like, really, really overwhelming throughout middle school to deal with, the taunting, the ridiculing, the being made fun of, all that.
What was the coping mechanism? Did you go to therapy? Did you have a friend that was there for you? What happened after that bus situation?
Yeah. So coping for me was finding escapes. So I could find escapes in circles. And so one of my circles was band. And so I was in band in middle school. And I remember like there were days where I would literally like skip. We had a really cool band teacher, and like I would like skip certain classes and like hide out in band. And like I would skip certain after school activities, just so I could like stay in these little like safe zones that, where I was surrounded by friends that, were cool with whoever I was.
Right. What's crazy about that is we're on the complete opposite side of the country. You're in Florida. I'm in Washington. Yeah. I remember my very first day getting on the bus of 7th grade.
Bus was hell.
Buses are insane, man. And people need to, for context, people need to understand we are under 30. So this is not that long ago.
No,
this is like less than 15 years ago. And so when I get on the bus, man, I get on there and there's this kid in the back and like the class, the older kid that gets held back and who everybody kind of doesn't want to be around, but he's like bigger than everybody
and louder.
And so I get on that thing and I sit down, and immediately as I get on the bus, never met the kid, he goes, N-words aren't allowed to sit on this bus. What are you doing here?
Oh my!
Every kid on that bus turned around, and I'm just like, and the bus driver didn't do shit.
No, they don't do a single thing.
Right?
They're so hands off. They could care less. Yeah, right? And I mean, that's horrible.
Right? And so I go to school, and then I'm walking on eggshells, and then I get back on the bus to go home, and this kid literally follows me home. And there's like, I'll never forget it. There's like this. Like when you're walking on those nice sidewalks and they have like those curved ditches that dip. And so he sees that and he pushes me in the ditch and then starts beating me up.
Wow.
Very first day of 7th grade.
7th grade. That was my year too.
Damn.
7th grade was the worst year of my entire life.
Worst year.
It never was worse than 7th grade. I will never forget 7th grade for that. Because
do you still think about it too?
What's that?
You still think about it too every once in a while?
Yeah. I have done a lot of like repression of that year since.
Right.
And like, I would say pretty successfully, like I'm able to really kind of channel my thoughts away from that. Every now and then I'll think about it. But like, 7th grade was a nightmare. And it's a combination of things that you said, just like, the bullying, the taunting, that whole, crap that you had to deal with, plus just a complete lack of action from people that could have stepped in and authority figures that really could have helped at that time. It was so the bus was a nightmare. And for me, what was an even worse nightmare was summer camp. So my parents, they were fortunate enough to have the funds for summer camp, which, for any kid, that's supposed to be great.
Right.
But for me, it was hell because they put me in summer camp with the same kids that taunted me during the year. So like I couldn't get away from them at any point in time. And in summer camp, it's even more intimate.
Right.
And so it's just like, I literally told I would tell my parents, like begging them, just don't make me go to summer camp. Like, because all day, you got the N-word, I got the F word. Wow. So it's just like, there were times I would fake sick all the time. All this stuff.
Yeah. I would often, man. I remember Mr. McLean, I go in his room and actually he's a Facebook friend of mine now today. And it's crazy because he actually doesn't remember the taunting. He just thought of me as this amazing kid and became successful and all that. But like, for some reason, he doesn't remember that I was going to his room because of this stuff.
Yeah.
He just remembers or sees what I am now.
Yeah. They don't really experience the trauma. They don't have a really good understanding of the trauma that you're actually going through at the time. That's going to last, a full lifetime.
Right. Right. And so, when I explained that story to him, he was just like, that's why you were in my room. He had absolutely no comprehension or.
In the same way that my band teacher had no idea why I was there. I didn't really confide in her about it, but I used that safe haven to hide out.
What were those other kids in the band room thinking too? Because they would hear about this in the halls. They would see
it and hear about it. A lot of them were girls, and being a young gay man, girls for whatever reason in like middle school and high school were way less aggressive, way less like, taunting and everything. It was the guys. It was like the trying to be super broy, masculine, like I'm, you know, king of the middle school kind of vibe. And so those girls really didn't like those guys anyway. And so, and so, you know, they were a total safe haven, and they would defend me to the end, which was great. And, you know, but like, yeah, the actual like administrators, teachers and everything, they had no real idea of what was going on.
What did you do at lunchtime? This was an interesting thing for me. It was always a conundrum every day what I would do.
Yeah. So again, you know, thank God for bands, because I would find that circle of people and really just surround myself with them. So I did get lucky in that I am really social and I am really outgoing. So when I find the right group, I can become, you know, that loud social voice. And so I can entertain people and be funny and like, you know, captivate the room. But I have to have the right, you know, the right crew. So I was able to find that right crew with, you know, people, you know, within different band and, you know, different groups that I would hang out with.
So junior high Tyler, what was his vision and his biggest dream in terms of like career? Where were you wanting to go?
So this is such an interesting conversation because I've always thought of how like messed up our education system is because like they try, and I remember in middle school them asking me, well, what do you want your high school major to be? And I'm like, I don't really know. And they're like, well, what do you want to do with your life? And I'm in 7th grade. Like I'm worried about getting bullied right now. Like I don't know what I want to do with my whole life. Like I had an idea. Like when I was a really, really young kid, like 3 years old, the movie Twister came out. I was obsessed with that movie, like just totally captivated. And I still to this day, like absolutely love weather. Like I've been through several hurricanes. And like one of my like top bucket list items is to see a tornado, like just see a real one. And so at that time, like I was like, well, I had grown up past the point of knowing that being a tornado chaser isn't like a real job. It's more of a hobby. So I had progressed to maybe I'll be a meteorologist at that stage. It was until
8th grade, 9th grade.
Yeah, like middle school. So I was, you know, up until 8th grade where they were trying to get us to choose our majors, right? And then they're like, okay, well, meteorology, you would want to go this path in high school. And I look, and the same thing in college, and the same thing for college. And I look, and it is just all math, like math, so like knee deep in math, like algebra, calculus, and everything. And I hate math, like absolutely with everything in me, hate it. So I changed my mind in 8th grade, and I went from meteorology to psychology just because I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew I liked people.
And it probably also, looking back, that probably also was you wanted to help people that were going through what you were going through eventually.
Maybe a little subconsciously. Yeah.
Because you don't know exactly what you're going through, but you know something isn't right.
Oh yeah. No, I knew I was going through hell. I knew I was going through something that a lot of other people didn't have to go through.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, like I was always really social, really outgoing, and like could captivate the room. And so I knew like I didn't want to necessarily be behind a desk somewhere. I wanted to be in front of people, and I wanted to be working with people to some capacity. And I felt like psychology was kind of open-ended in that people sector, and I could kind of shape it to what I wanted to eventually after, which I did. But that was kind of the thought then.
And then your parents in high school, what were the kind like what areas did they want you to go in? What kind of pressure were you getting from them if they wanted you to do anything in particular with your career?
Yeah, so my parents, they've always been really supportive. They were kind of brainwashed like almost all parents are or were at that time of like, if you don't go to college, you won't ever get a good job. And, you know, that is just the thing you have to do. And if you don't, you know, that's just non-negotiable, you know, if you have to take out, you know, $500,000 of student loans to do it, you got to do it because it's well worth it because you're definitely going to get a job after, which is like the biggest lie.
Probably the best scam. I look at it as the greatest scam of all time.
God, it is. And it's still almost just as strong as it was then.
And we're in COVID. Why do you want to go to college in COVID?
Yeah, think about paying like $50,000 a year for like a bachelor's degree in psychology to go to a big name school online.
Right. Oh my goodness.
It boggles my mind. But you know, at the time, you know, I bought into that whole thing too. Wanted to go to college, and you know, and And so they were fine with whatever I wanted to do as long as I went to college. And so, and we were both on board with that. I applied to several schools. I knew just because of budget, I was like, I'm not going to go out of state because the out of state tuition is just ridiculous. So I'll stay in state. I actually worked. So in high school, I did dual enrollment for Florida. And what dual enrollment is you go to college classes in place of your high school classes, and you get the college credit that satisfies your high school requirement at the same time. Wow. And it's 100% free.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, insane.
Underrated.
Unrated, undervalued, underused things in the entire Florida education system. I don't even know if they still do it today, but like it was worth its weight in gold. I got 2 full years of my college degree while I was still in high school. The day I walked with my high school degree, 2 weeks later, I walked with my associate's degree and completed that at the same time. So my last 2 years of high school, I actually spent at the community college.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a blessing, man. That's dope. So were you at that point when you graduated, were you holding on to, so backtracking a little bit, senior year, you know who you are, you're coming into yourself, your sexuality, things like that. And then you're about to go to school. What kind of thoughts are going through your head when you're going across that stage? Like, what are you really feeling?
So actually, senior year of high school, I was still very immersed in the culture that was where I grew up. So no, I wasn't coming into myself. I hadn't discovered who I was. I was still holding on to that defense. No, I'm not gay. And so it wasn't until a year into my Miami college experience that I actually came out to both myself and then the world. Wow. So at that time, walking across the stage, I was really excited to move to the big city of Miami.
Yep, because then you could be who you wanted.
Yeah. Then I could experience, all of the things that I wanted to experience and see people living their true selves.
Right.
Cause like there was none of that. Like there was so many gay people at FIU where I went. It was a super diverse, mega diverse college. And, that was where I was able to find like comfort in finding myself and able to come out there, within a year of being there and just totally, revolutionized, the path that I was on.
And so your bachelor's, you were still going after that psychology?
Yeah. So I finished, I had the 2 years in for it. I transferred that directly over to FIU. When you have the 2 years done, they basically any college will accept you as a transfer. So like getting accepted isn't a hard thing to do as a transfer. So I got my pick of really wherever I wanted to go. So happy that I went to Miami and not like an FSU or like a UF. And really happy that I went down there because I became an orientation leader.
Wow.
There at FIU.
I totally see you doing that.
Oh yeah, it was perfect. It was a coveted position. Like so many, I'm not even joking. Like hundreds of students would apply for these 10 orientation spots or whatever. And I got it, and I was like, it was so fun. Like you get to, have your own little group of freshmen and you're introducing them to everything, and you're like the tour guide, you got to know all about the school. I loved it. It was so fun at that time.
And so your happy meter, when you're in your zone, you're an orientation leader, 1 to 10, what's your happy meter at that point in your life?
At that point, it was like a 7. It was like a 7. I was a lot happier than coming from Port St. Lucie and being able to kind of spread my wings.
Yep.
But I was still like living on campus and still living well within like this FIU bubble, which was great, but it wasn't yet Miami. It was still FIU, right? So I hadn't like really fully expanded yet.
I see. And so at this time, first of all, congratulations, because, for me, it actually took me graduating for me to be honest about who I wanted to be in terms of, I felt like I was kind of like performing throughout college. I was performing and pretending to be like I wanted to be this huge music producer. And so every part of my identity would go into that, whether it was the cool party guy, but that's not really who I was.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like hearing your story just reminds me, that's just insane. It just reminds me like there's so many other people that went through what we did. And also that it's really nice to hear that you actually did find that good happiness even before you graduated.
Yeah. I mean, I was able to definitely find my path. You know what really did it for me was I went to college to spread my wings, but at the same time, like I said, I still wasn't out or accepting or understanding of who I was when I left Port St. Lucie. So I went to college to spread my wings, but to also prove to myself that I was that identity that I told and defended. They told everyone that I was in high school, and that I defended everyone that I was in high school, right? So what I did in college was I looked for the straightest, frattiest, broiest possible fraternity that I could pledge. Like these guys were like all the guys that would totally
Project
make fun
X.
of me. They would have totally made fun of me in like high school. So, and I'm like, I'm going to pledge them, and I'm going to become one of them. And I'm going to prove to myself and to everyone else that I am this identity, like you said, acting, that I had been portraying and acting and telling myself that I was.
Wow.
And that was not fun. Wow. That was terrible.
And so, because I remember the moment I had like this light bulb moment where the acting was just I couldn't keep doing it. And so for me, it was, I had gotten a little bit of success as a music producer. I saw my song was in a movie. And so I went back to work. I was in a coffee shop, and I'll never forget it. I go into the coffee shop, and I'm a manager. And then all of a sudden, everybody heard about the movie, and people like directors, school principal, all those people, administrators, one of them comes in and goes, "You guys know your manager right here. He's actually famous, right?" And he was not trying to joke with me or make fun of me. He actually said that. And then people started pulling out their phones. And in that moment, I was like, damn, I proved myself right. Because I looked at it like an experiment, almost
like a validation.
Exactly. Like I was sitting there like, okay, they think I'm this big person, but I know I'm not shit.
Yeah. Oh, what's that?
It's almost like imposter syndrome.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Imposter syndrome. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you weren't that frat boy.
Yeah.
But you wanted to believe that, or you
so
wanted
bad. Yeah. They hazed the shit out of me.
Damn.
Like literally, like me and my whole pledge class, by the way. I mean, it wasn't just me.
Right.
But like we were all there for our own different reasons. We were all there. That's all fraternities and sororities are. It's a bunch of young kids that come out of high school that really want to be accepted in college. And they want to be accepted by the cool kids. And so the cool kids literally are in groups called fraternities and sororities, and they have pledge classes so that you can prove to them that you're cool enough to be given a badge and sit with them, and then pay them dues each month or each year.
That's the realest shit. Oh,
like it's the biggest joke. Like the college, fraternity sorority system. We're all there for our own emotional issues. Like all of us. But mine personally was to prove that I was this straight fratty guy that I could have been. And all it did to me was it beat the hell out of me. It was terrible. I did eventually, pass the pledge class. Like it was 9 months of terrible hazing, but I did eventually get in and became a brother. And when I came out as gay about a year later, that whole fraternity disowned me. Wow. Like none of them would talk to me. None of them wanted to hang out with me. Like I went from having like a group of, maybe like 25, 30 guys that I could see on anywhere on the campus and we'd be really cool to like 2 or 3 that would still associate with me because they didn't want to be gay by association. Yeah.
What? So what were they so afraid of? What was their rationale? Or what were their actions?
I think that gay by association. Like They have all their own mental hangups, right? Mm-hmm. Like they have all their own, like they're straight, but they're not 100% comfortable in their own sexuality. So they wouldn't want to ever risk being seen hanging out too much with a gay guy, because then maybe they might be gay.
Wow.
There's like, everyone has their own thing going on and their own insecurities, right? And so they don't want that. So yeah, but going through that experience, it was so nice. It was like really freeing to like rid myself of all these people that only liked this fake version of myself.
Yes.
And it was just like this huge weight that dropped off when I finally came out. I had real friends that liked me for exactly who I was, and I was able to grow so far and so much through that process, and also just shed so much fake crap that I had.
Where did you find those real friends? Because it wasn't in the fraternity. Where did you go find them?
So I found those real friends, through all the different types of stuff that I was involved in. I worked on campus. I lived on campus for a long time. I was a peer advisor, the orientation leader. So I had tons of real friends that were in there. It was just the fraternity, and I kind of expected that. I honestly,
isn't that funny how like in the back of our head we know this shit is not going to work how we think it is.
Yeah. And I mean, I wasn't being real with myself, right? So if you lose friends once you become real, that's part of the process. A lot of gays lose their family when they come out. I was lucky to not, but that's a reality of the situation. So it was freeing, and it was a huge pivot point in my life that helped me to become who I am today.
And were your siblings, what were you actually confiding in them during college, or what? No, they didn't know shit. Damn.
No. So I have absolutely not. So I have a sister who couldn't be more different than me. Gotcha. Just she didn't understand it really, or she's so into the whole Bible culture that it's a choice, it's a sin, come back to God kind of thing. Meanwhile, you're there as a person who has just had to climb Mount Everest to admit to yourself that this is real. You have to deal with this. And through the coming out process, and being, ridiculed in school, you feel like it's such a curse and everything. And you're looking at someone like that who tells you that, oh, it's a choice and that you chose it. I'm like, why the hell would you ever choose that?
That's it. Let's touch on that. So a lot of people, because I grew up in the church and I walked away from the church, and that was the biggest thing. One of the biggest things for me is anything along those lines, especially when it came to in the Bible, all those things, they'd always say well, it's different now, or what. There'd always be some new spin on it, how they would justify it. Why would Tyler want to be ridiculed and bullied and fucking hazed and all this shit? Why would you want that?
It was so painful at that time. It was horrible at that time. If I had a choice on it, God, I would have never chose to be that person. And in fact, I thought, because I was raised in the church too, and I thought that was a choice too. And so I actively chose against it that whole time. Wow. That was me choosing not to. And what choosing not to actually means is that you are putting up this fake identity and pretending someone else that you're actually not, so that others approve of you,
comfortable.
So that you approve of yourself if you subscribe to that doctrine that those other people are subscribing to. So, the hardest part of coming out for me was, at the time I was still fully Christian, and that's how I was raised and everything, was trying to wrap my head around, how could God make me make me just a walking sin? That doesn't make any sense. And trying to square that circle never worked for me. So it was a really difficult thing internally. And so by the time that I figured out that, okay, that's a lie. Yeah. That's a fallacy, right? That a lot of people have subscribed to, and was able to come out to myself. I had no room and no time and no patience for anyone else that tried to put that back on me, because I had already overcome it. I already climbed that mountain.
We already been through the church. We already climbed the Mount Everest. We're not going back.
Right. So I was very, and a lot of people, everyone comes out in their own way, but I was very bullish about it. I was very like, look, I've been through hell and back, and, over it took me a year of really mentally getting there and accepting myself. But once I did that, when I came out to people, I was very like, look, this is who I am. I'm comfortable with it. I'm happy with it. If you're on board, great. If you're not, bye. I did that, to a lot of my friends and family as well. My family a little bit softer, but they understood that if they weren't going to accept that new person, that they were going to lose that person, and ended up working out.
I love that you stuck with this shit, man.
Yeah,
seriously, because a lot of people gave up, man. Like, we saw a lot of our peers in their life. We saw a lot of their peers give up on their dream. We saw a lot of our peers decide to be that frat boy and then become that weird dad that we all, you know what I mean? Like, we see so much of that.
Yeah. Man. I have friends that have kids because, like, gay friends that have kids because that period for them lasted, that denial phase for them lasted all the way through to a wife or two and kids, where they got to the point of being comfortable with who they are. And that's what society will do to you. And that's what school, public school, which I'm a proponent of. I needed that socialization in my life, but like, that's what that environment can do to you. And, I am fortunate. I think I'm really fortunate that I was able to figure it out, at least on the timeline that I was able to, and then kind of put that part of my life behind me, because since then, I've just grown into like such a different person. And like my sexuality, what felt like a curse when I was a kid, in middle school and in high school and in the beginning of college, when I was trying to force myself to do, all this stuff to make, prove I was straight, what felt like a curse then, to me now is like a blessing, because I'm so comfortable in it and I'm so comfortable with who that I am, that I find all the benefits of being in the LGBT community. My first 2 clients for So Be Viral were LGBT owned businesses that I know because I was that social
authentic
person in the community, know? So I've now come from a place of, it was a curse, to now leveraging it as a community, as a source of friends, as a place of belonging, all types of stuff. So you can really overcome, and then
turning that pain. You're letting that pain. You're becoming the hero in your own story by letting that pain help you transcend.
Yeah,
and that's a beautiful thing, man. What for you after you graduated? You obviously didn't, for people that don't know, you didn't go down the meteorology or psychology, but you found another passion. Well, I'm not sure if it's your passion anymore, but you found another venture and part of your journey in marketing, right?
Yes.
And so one of the things that I figured out about marketing, so remember when I was having issues with my identity in college, I realized that I was just marketing a different version of myself.
Yeah.
So what would happen if I actually was myself and then helped others do the same?
Yeah. So
when you came out, when you were fully authentic, you graduated, what did you do next? And how did you find marketing?
Well, that's a good What I did next was I said, shit, here I am with my 4-year bachelor degree. What do I do? I'm living in Miami. I like living here. But at that time I was like, I want to travel. I'm young. So what do all gay men do? We try to be flight attendants. So I applied to every airline possible. And I got hired for like the worst one ever. They literally would fly only from Miami to Curacao and back on these MD-80 planes from the 1970s that were falling apart. And I felt scared even being on them. And I did that for like 4 months. Could not pay my bills. I mean, they pay nothing. And
was it minimum wage for the flight attendant?
No, it's not minimum wage. In fact, they advertised $27 an hour to start. Fantastic. Okay, great. $27 an hour. Great. Yeah, but you're only paid wheels up, wheels down, and we fly 2.5 hours and back to Curacao. So what becomes a day's worth of work ends up being like a few $100s. And I'm like, yeah, no, it's just like, it's complete.
That is a crazy trick. So you're actually sitting around in airports and not getting paid.
You get paid per diem, which is like $1 or $2 an hour. Like it was like nothing.
Wow.
Like they have this like super low rate of you sitting down around, and then you get your actual rate only when you're flying. And we flew these tiny little short trips. It was horrible. So I lasted about 4 months, and while I was doing that, I couldn't pay my bills, and so I was working in a gay bar, so that I was, getting into that community and learning who I was and meeting other guys and trying to, assimilate into my new found identity while I was doing that. And at the same time, I was like, this is not going to pay my bills, and I don't want to have this college degree and be working this shitty airline job and at a bar. Like, I have to clean this up. So
were you bartending?
No, I was bar backing. It was not glamorous. And I was applying to everything that I possibly could at the time. So I was on Craigslist applying, sending my application and resume in on job postings that were posted there.
While you were between fights and stuff like that? Yeah.
Literally like at the bar, sending my application in. I remember one time I got a response right back, a company called Dreamwater. And Dreamwater is a sleep aid. It's like it's like a 5-hour energy, but the opposite. And it has melatonin and it puts you to sleep. It's really gimmicky, but it's like $3 for like 3 milligrams of melatonin when you could buy like a bottle for, but it's cool if you want to have a shot, for them. So they're based in Fort Lauderdale, and that was my first marketing gig that I landed. And it was like the right-hand man of the marketing director and also the owner of that company at the time. And it was kind of one of those, like, I'm young, I'm on social media, and you're going to pay me a small amount, but it's still going to be way more than the flight attendant job just to get my foot in the door. And so I worked there for a few years, and that's how I got my start into marketing.
So 2-3 years? How many years were you there?
I worked there for about 2 years, and that environment became really toxic. The owners like split, and one like bought the other one out. And there was like a day where they were like firing everybody and like throwing laptops across
Wall Street shit.
Yeah. Wow. It was like a small company that like really high tensions. I mean, there was less than 10 of us as employees there. So they just felt really comfortable, and they would just like curse and scream. And like, it was terrible, really toxic experience that, if you were 5 minutes late, they were, that you had, Natalie over here, writing down a note so that she can tell the owner. Like, it was just terrible, toxic. So I knew I had to get out of there. I did eventually get out of there. I worked for a real estate, company after that, which was even worse, on the toxic.
Were you doing PPC or what kind of marketing?
No, at that time, we're talking like 2013, 2014 at this time. And at that time, it was just social media management. And there was a lot of businesses in those years that were like, we need to get on Facebook now.
Exactly. They didn't know what the hell was what. They just needed a millennial.
So they just needed a millennial. I was like really, using that to get my foot in the door, and it worked in a lot of places. It was like, we need to be posting on Facebook. They didn't know why we needed to post on Facebook, but we need to post. So I then moved to a real estate agency. That was even worse, toxic environment. Like, the guy was like, he would yell at women, like, and curse at women in the office. I was like, okay, that one was so bad that I knew I had to get out within a week. I quit that job without having another one after, because I was like, I'm not going to get yelled at. I'm not going to get told, demand what to do. Like, he was like barking at me, telling me to take out the trash. Like, what is this? And then after that, I ended up at an energy shot company, which is ironic because it's the exact opposite of Dreamwater, also in Fort Lauderdale. And it was at that company that on the side, I started So Be Viral.
So the obvious question here is, why weren't you content growing as an employee there? What made you know that you wanted to start a real business?
Well, it was my third like real job. I was still getting paid like $40,000 a year. And we're, 3 years out of college, and I'm like, there's gotta be more. Like, I'm not going to do this until I'm 60 and climb up maybe another $100,000 a year. Like, I was just like,
you just couldn't accept that shit.
No, I was just insanely unfulfilled. And I was at that point also really good at what I did. So at Dreamwater, like, I took over all their accounts, and I grew them substantially online by creating their content, by, managing like all their social channels. Like I took over from a high paying agency. They paid them $10K a month. And they gave me their job. They fired them and gave me all their jobs, and all of their numbers went up on all their engagement metrics. So I started getting really good by the time I was at the energy shot company at what I did. And I was like, I knew that I could do this for other companies and get paid a lot more on retainer at that point. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense.
Right. So what fears were going through your head at that time? Because you probably didn't have all the capital to start this thing. What kind of fear were you going through? What obstacles did you have to go through to get this going? Yeah.
So security, I did fear, like, what if it doesn't work out? To be honest, like, I didn't just quit my job. Okay. I didn't quit the job at the energy shot company and then just go start my agency. No, like, I did it really smart. Like, I was like, I'm going to start getting side clients. I'm not going to tell the energy shot company. They only had enough work for me to maybe take up like 40% of my day at my desk, but they demanded my butt in that seat in the office.
Smart.
So frustrating. So I kept going in, and I had this like 60% of my day. They were like, well, what the hell am I doing with it? So I started, hitting up all the lead gen channels, started really, starting to market myself, contacting all the business owners that I know that were in my community that I had built up. And I got 2, 3, maybe 4 clients by that point. And my goal for myself was I want to make at least double the amount of money that I'm making in my paycheck outside of my paycheck in clients. And then,
so then you could quit.
Well, no, actually,
really
better. I said, once I hit that marker, I'm going to then pitch my energy shot company to become my next client. And I had the best pitch ever. Like, it could not have made more sense. To this day, it still makes a ton of sense. And it was just, so I said, once I reach that level, I will reveal, this is what I've been doing. I have several clients. And what I was going to do is pitch them 100% of the work product that I was currently doing. So they would 100% of the scope of work, everything, for half of my salary in retainer form instead of salary form. And the only thing that I'm asking for is that I'm not in the office. I'm working from home so that I have time to work with my other clients as well. 100, like, to me, it was like, it couldn't have been a better offer. Like period. You get same work product, half the price.
Wow.
And they lost it. She was the woman that was in charge of it was like, no, absolutely not. You either are going to be here and be a dedicated Energia employee, or not. So, I'll let you decide what you want to do. And I said,
never let people like us decide.
I was like, well, okay, I prepared for that. I'm glad I got those extra clients so that I have this fallback, and that's it. That's going to be it. And so, oh my God, walking out of that office that day, like, I could not have felt better. It felt so.
Were you at like a 10, or were you still?
No, that was a 10. That was a total 10. Oh yeah. I was like, I felt high from that rush. It was like just complete freedom and like independence. And
when did you tell your mom, man? Because this is a huge decision.
Yeah. So my mom was scared. I told her leading up to it, what I was planning to do. And while she was, happy for me, she was also like, really weigh your options. You have health insurance right now. You have
always the health insurance.
Yeah. You have a steady job that, is a guaranteed paycheck, is how she looked at it. Here is the best part of this whole story. After I walked, I was in touch with one of my my managers that I was closer with, not the one that told me no, but a different manager that helped me actually craft the pitch. And she says, you'll never guess what happened today at Energy. I said, tell me. She goes, well, it turns out one of the owners was embezzling money from the company. And now the feds are after one of the owners. The company is shut down and they fired everyone today.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. That was like 6 months later. So at the time, I had no idea. None of us had any idea that was happening. But I had a gut feeling to follow my dream, follow my passion, and do more and start my company. And I had that false sense of security of, but this is the safer route. This is the paycheck. The safer route turned out to be way riskier.
Yes.
And would have resulted in, a catastrophe had I stayed on the safer route.
Wow. What did your sister say?
My sister was happy for me. We weren't super close at that time.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have a sister like that too. So, as you start really growing the business, start, making noise, being more involved online, other people in your old circles coming back around.
Yeah.
Do you remember what was happening in your life, specifically where you started seeing people from your past pop up out of nowhere? Like for me, it was, I posted that I hit 6 figures and then I had a team now and all these things. And when I posted that, all of a sudden my phone started blowing up.
Yeah.
From random people from junior high, high school, people that hated or didn't want, well, not hated, but people that had no business calling me or texting me. Was there like a success moment for you when stuff like that started happening?
Yeah, I was always pretty vocal about the growth of my company as we grew. And, I had that happen a few different times. And most of the time it was people that like I did not want to work with in any capacity. And like, I had my real father, who I have not been in contact with since I was 7 years old. He stopped sending me birthday cards like before I hit 10. My real father reached out to me 2 years ago, like right before New Year's, through my Sobi Viral contact form.
Oh my God.
On my website, saying, hey, I see how well you're doing and I'm so proud of you and I'd love to reconnect because I have this business that I think you could help market. I'm like, so yes, I have had that happen.
Yes, that's exactly
like
what I'm talking
crazy
about.
Level. Like I was like, what? Yeah.
What did you say to him?
Oh man, I couldn't respond right away. Like my head was like all like so confused the rest of the night. Like, I mean, we're talking like over a decade since I've talked to this person who like, and there's like a whole backstory where he like abandoned me and my mom and everything when we were young and everything. And now he just wants to like, oh, I see you're doing well. Do you want to help me with my product that I'm trying to bring to market? Like, instead of being like, oh, hey, sorry for abandoning you as a kid. So I thought long and hard about it. And what I ended up coming to was I hit him back with the same cold, really just like completely ignoring the elephant in the room that he did. So I said, hey, yeah, let's see your product. It's going to be a range of about this. Let me know if you're interested. Just like completely the whole thing and talk to him like he was a stranger because he is. And he didn't write back. We didn't really, I mean, he did a little bit, but it just kind of fizzled out because it was just a cover. He wanted to, that was like his in, but it was just terrible. No. So no, we obviously didn't end up working together, but
yeah, I can remember for me, man, it was like, I had a childhood best friend. He was actually my very first friend ever when I was 1. And I hadn't talked to him in 5 years. Random phone call. Kevin, what's up, man? Who's this? Yeah, so-and-so. Well, I've been kind of like hanging out with this girl and she's like a model, but not really like a prostitute, but we want to start this business and you're like the right person. What do I don't want the friend discount or anything. I just want to know, dude.
I've had so many weird inquiries like that. Like I have this idea.
Yes, it's always an idea.
can you go make it happen and then we'll partner on it?
Gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. The only thing I hate as much as that is like, hey, can you sit with me for an hour so I can pick your brain on this or that? And it's just like, no, you can't. So, yeah, a lot of people have a lot of ideas. It's just like, go make it happen.
I don't like it. Yeah, I don't, you know, for me, the biggest thing is ideas really don't mean shit. Like, I love to see what results you've already achieved and how we can maximize those. Yeah. A lot of people always want to start different types of businesses, or I did this, or I was successful in 20 years ago doing this, and now I want to start this random business. It's like, bro, like,
so many people have so many ideas of different things, and they want to latch on to someone who's already somewhat successful so that they feel like they can kind of lean on that person and they can take the wheel. And what they don't realize is like, what value are you getting from that?
Yeah.
Other than like a ball and chain. It's this other guy's idea and your
expertise. Well, you're going to get 20% of fucking what?
Right. Yeah.
5 billion. Okay.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I've never even had a thought to ever have a partner. I like to make the decisions, and I like to consult like really, really smart people. And I have some amazing team members that I'm able to consult, but I do not want someone's like final word being 50% of
right. So final thought, what do you think your greatest contribution is going to be when it's all said and done?
Difficult to say because, I've changed so much just in, the short 29 years that I've been here. But I think my greatest contribution to date is I've been able to help a ton of people change their lives. Like I've been able to help a ton of people that have started with an idea, like we're talking about, to start their marketing agency and go from an idea to actual tens of thousands of dollars in monthly revenue in a really short period of time, which for someone, and we're all in different financial situations, but for a lot of people, that's completely life-changing.
Exactly.
Like, and it completely sets them on a completely new track. And it changes their mindset, and it enables them to realize that it is there if you want to grab it, and you can do that. And so I think, that's my biggest contribution to date, is helping a lot of people change their lives in a dramatic way, financially and in their mindset. But what it will be when it's all said and done, like when I'm 6 feet under, I have no idea. Hopefully more than that.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much, Tyler, for being one of those people. You changed my life in a lot of ways, and it's just an honor being able to sit with you and really hear the full story, understanding exactly who you really are. Man, I'm just honored, man, truly.